Well, good morning. Kat here, and this gray little floof is Mochi, and this is our apartment. Sorry, it's a little messy. Hold on. There, that's better. And just a quick moment to finish my makeup. Oh, excuse me. Then it's downstairs for a quick yet hearty breakfast. All in all, just your average morning. Nothing too exciting or groundbreaking. Which is what I wanted to talk to you about. By the way, I have a little chest cold, so I might sound slightly different, but feeling good. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what I talk about. Let me explain. I was thinking that when I started making videos a year ago, I just knew I desperately wanted some sort of creative outlet. And what I didn't know is if I had anything interesting to say. And that's why when the first video I ever put out did so well, it kind of gave me this feeling like, oh, wow, do I not only have to have interesting things to say, but do I need important things to say? Like, do I need to be saying important things with a capital I? And as soon as you add a capital I to important, it's just even more intimidating. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that if you were expecting really big, exciting, capital I important work from this channel, I am sorry to disappoint you because we're mostly going to be talking about silly, insignificant things. Exhibit A, I got bangs, or as some of you might call it, a fringe, which I also love. Pretty silly, pretty insignificant. You might have seen them in my Valentine's Day Q&A video. I didn't really know how to style them on my own yet, but good news. The Dyson Airwrap that I bought years ago that I've never used and I always felt bad about it has one attachment that works to do the little flippy thing that I always wanted my bangs to do and could never figure out. So in the end, it was totally worth the $500 purchase so that I could get my bangs to go floop. I got these linen rust-colored curtains specifically for this apartment, which has really tall ceilings and needed a long curtain to like look good. At some point I thought, wouldn't it look nice if it had a matching curtain tie? So I went on Etsy from the same seller, ordered a matching set of curtain ties, waited weeks for them to get delivered, put them on like so, and decided I didn't like them like that. So rather than let them go to waste, I discovered that when tied together, they make the perfect mochi string, so I can play with her while I sit on the couch. See, look, she's doing it right now. You got it. Good girl. Woo. That's all. Like a raindrop. She's got the look. Exhibit C. I'm trying to spend less time on my phone. So I have it here in jail, under a bowl, 2 books, and a vase of tulips. Vase of tulips? Vase of tulips. Under some tulips. And this is just for dramatic effect, obviously. I have some self-restraint. And I consider this to be a fairly silly thing because, you know, who isn't trying to spend less time on their phone? It's very common. Mine started for a couple reasons. Firstly, I want to improve my posture. So something happens when you film yourself a lot. You get an interesting perspective of how you look. I would like a little bit less slumped shoulders, you know, and like have my head looking up. And I'll take this out for just a second. But we're on our phones like this so much. And then if you try to lift it up like this, it looks like you're filming someone or taking a selfie. And I don't want people to think I'm doing either of those things. And, you know, here's the other benefit is that I hope, you know, by having my head down here less and up here more, I'll start to take notice of all the little details happening around me. I noticed fascinating little details like this light socket, completely out of reach with no switch to turn it on. Or what about this water damage by my window? Slowly getting worse with every passing rainstorm. Fantastic. You learn a lot from laying on your rug and staring at the ceiling. But the best part was Mochi. She'd come over for nuzzles, sometimes licking my head like I was her little kitten. And when I looked up, she was so big, and I felt delightfully small. another reason why I've been wanting to spend less time on my phone. Not that I'm even chronically on it that much. It's just that when I would be on it, I would feel kind of swallowed up by it. And yeah, that's social media, of course, but just all of it. And I'm definitely not unique in feeling this way. A lot of people find it very overwhelming. I was just finding that when it came to creating stuff and putting it out into the world, and specifically an online world, it just made me feel that overwhelm on a deeper level. I want to say it was giving me the ick. That might actually be the right feeling for it. It was giving me the ick because I would go pick up my phone and all I could see was just this like endless scroll of people saying, look at me, look at me, look at me over here. And it just felt so noisy. And then I gave myself the ick because now I'm on there too. You know, I'm adding to the noise. So I got the ick and I gave myself the ick. It's funny because when you spend so much time on a project, you kind of have to convince yourself like, oh, it's a good use of all this time I'm spending. It's a worthwhile endeavor. But at the same time, you kind of have to tell yourself like, it really doesn't matter. Because it doesn't. I mean, that's kind of a fact. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. So you feel a little bit like ridiculous for spending so much time and thinking so much about something that's kind of nothing. And I think part of this process for me is learning to be okay with that and maybe one day embrace it. By the way, I have another little thing I want to show you. So when I get ready for bed, I have the fireplace YouTube video on my TV downstairs. And the coolest part is I can turn it off from up here. All right, you ready? 1, 2, 3. You don't live in a place like New York City without feeling kind of small. You're not even invisible. You're just a body in the way. Sometimes I'll leave the house in what I think is a really cool outfit, and it's like, yeah, whatever. It takes a lot to stand out here. Occasionally, Jeff and I will take a little day trip outside the city. And there's an immediate shift in energy. Less bustle, so quiet. That one coffee shop everyone goes to. It's like being on a different planet. Sometimes I wonder if my internet life should feel more like a small town, with familiar places and faces I check in on, instead of an endless, overwhelming scroll. No, this is perfect. Very romantic lighting. Yeah. Okay. Oh, wait. Maybe leave that hall light on. It was kind of adding a little. Thank you.
Maybe turn this one on to see what happens. Okay.
Beautiful. Brava. Welcome to Thumbnail Time with Kat. It's like a beautiful spring day here in New York, which is why I have a smoothie and no sleeves. Anyway, if you don't already know, a thumbnail is a funny little rectangle on YouTube that you click into to watch a video. And it's funny that something so small can really decide the destiny of the rest of your work, but it is an important part of the process. It can feel like the most icky part because you usually need to have a photo of yourself. You're usually trying to grab people's attention in a sea of other thumbnails. But I've found it to be kind of a fun exercise in, you know, what makes it a compelling image and playing around with words and graphics. You know, as a copywriter, that's kind of what I do when I work with a graphic designer. I still have a lot to learn, but it's kind of a fun practice, and I try not to save it till the very end when I'm exhausted and I'm just ready to like move on to the next thing. Like, it's not something you want to neglect since it is such a big, important part of your work, as weird as it is. So for this video, I have no idea. We're gonna work on that a little today. And as much as like I feel icky or weird about like stuff like this, the marketing part of your work, I just think about how wonderful it is to have a way to immediately share something and put it out in the world, even if it feels a bit like a drop in the bucket and like a nothing at the end of the day. Like, just to be able to do that is, I have to remind myself, just a really wonderful opportunity. It really is an honor to be a weird little rectangle in a sea of other weird little rectangles. And if you clicked on mine, thank you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Putting your work on the internet is a bit of a mindfuck. It can all feel really silly and insignificant. But while this has become a big part of my life, it's just a small part of my world. A world where I'm already significant. And honestly, that has allowed this to be less precious and more free. I'm Kat, a 38-year-old female, and I'm still YouTubing.